All right, today we're going to talk about Toms and Dees, chapter 1 and 2, an introduction. My name is Jenny Bond, and this is Anthropology and Asian American Studies class at Fresno State University. All righty. So the learning objectives today is we're going to learn about key terms: sex, gender, identity, and we're also going to learn about Thailand, gender, and sexuality, illustrate key terms, chapter 1 and 2. Can anyone read the definition of sex, gender, and identity? Sex, the biological designation determined by hormones, genitals, and chromosomes. Gender, socially constructed roles often dictated by culture. Identity, where one sees themselves in the gender spectrum. Here's a picture of two children looking at their genitals. All right, so I have a question for you all. What is the gender of these two individuals? Let's actually, on your left, let's talk about it a little bit. Monica, can you help us out? Can you describe the image on the left side?
It looks like it's a pageant queen. Like she has a crown.
So I see she has a crown. Can you describe the picture more deeply, like unpack it? What is she wearing? What's on her face?
She has makeup on. I see that. I don't really see. I don't really see the difference. Like I just see that she's wearing makeup and she looks like she won a pageant and she's just like a queen or like a princess or she wants something.
Yeah, it looks like a pageant queen. You're correct. So you see she has like lots of makeup on, she has jewelry, and she has a big crown. Okay, excellent. Okay, can someone, I think that's a pretty good description. You described her as a she, and you described her, what makes her a she. You said her makeup, her crown. Now, can anyone describe the picture on the right?
He's an older gentleman in slacks and a shirt. I mean, he comes across as a man to me, very masculine.
Can you, Maribel, can you actually describe and unpack like all the images and the clothes that this person's wearing?
Well, he's wearing the gray slacks, the buttoned up shirt. I'm not sure what he's holding though. And then he's got, I don't know if that's like a watch or something he's wearing.
Looks like it. What about that thing that he's leaning on?
Yeah, that's the one thing. I don't know if that's like a cane or something he might be using.
So you would say that this is a male, would you say?
Well, he comes across as a male. I mean, he's dressed. I mean, it could be a female just dressed as a masculine male, but I mean, yes, he does look like a male.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts from the class about these two individuals? It seems like Monica was intimating that the kind of beauty queen on the left is a female, and Maribel was telling us that, from her eyes, it seems like it's a male from the clothes and the kind of maybe positioning in the body. Does anyone agree or disagree?
I mean, to me, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Jay, I think it's completely the opposite, honestly, in my eyes. I think it's the opposite.
Jay, can we unpack your statement?
Oh, sorry. I disagree.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you should judge someone based off of the way that they're dressed or if they're wearing makeup or not.
Right.
I don't think that we should judge gender by clothes or what they're wearing.
Intriguing. A great response. Okay. Any other comments?
For me, just looking at them, like from the definition of gender being the socially constructed roles, it would appear like on the surface that the one is the one in the pageant queen is a female and the one on the right is male. Like for me, when I look at the picture of the one, especially the one leaning on the cane or whatever that they are leaning on, that person has traditionally, to me, female, based on sex, body type, like the hips are wider and things like that. But I don't know how they identify, so we can't really presume.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Jay. All right. Actually, the one on the left is a biological male, and it is a Katoi or a ladyboy of Thailand. So this person identifies as a female, but actually has the genitals of a male. Okay. So in Thai culture, they actually have a separate gender category. In fact, there's many genders in Thailand, more than 5. And so it's not exactly identity of a female, but it's definitely not identity of a male. Okay. So quote, some people call them ladyboys or katois in Thailand, but it is biological males. So this person may or may not still have the penis, which is the genitals, but present themselves as a female in terms of performance. And so this is, again, a different gender category in Thailand, okay? Not exactly male and not exactly female, okay? But also not exactly a transgender. So a lot of people in America would say, oh, this person's transgender. Again, we have to respect the Thai culture in that they have their own gender category for this type of gender expression, which is neither man nor woman. Now, this is a person from the Balkans. It is a biological woman, but she works and lives her whole life as a male. And she stays a virgin. I would say not she, but he stays a virgin, identifies as a he. And the actual culture actually views this person as a male, okay? Although biologically has the genitalia of a female. Okay, but that's something to think about because identity as a male and then surrounding community treats this person as a male, but in terms of expression of sexuality, has no sexuality and identifies as a male. Okay, and so in this culture, there is no separate gender category, but it's how the person self-identifies, and also how the community views this person, which is a male. Now, any thoughts of what we just went over? Any thoughts? So one of the things why I do this experiment is because I want you guys to unpack notions of gender, biology, and identity, and how it can be different in different spaces in time and culture and in history. All right, what is the color? So now I have a question for the class. What's the color for a baby girl and what's the color for baby boy? I have 4 friends who are currently pregnant, so very shocking. I guess I called 10-year baby. And I was like, oh my goodness, I never thought you guys would have kids. And so now I have to buy all these gifts for all these, 4 different friends. So if it was a girl coming out, what kind of gift, what color would I give that girl?
Okay, this is Jay talking. And now for this one, there's a lot in relation to it. Okay. So traditionally, the tradition has been pink.
Correct.
and blue, pink for a boy and blue for a girl.
Yes.
Because pink, it represents strength, and blue was supposed to represent for a girl because it's soft and so forth. However, through time, that changed and that evolved. And so, but then now we're looking at, you know, where we are now, and it's kind of like, well, what's the significance of color in associating? You know, you give them any color now.
Great point.
But, yeah.
Great point, Jay. That's correct. I was gonna trick you all, but Jay knows the the trick, which is actually traditionally, pink was actually considered a very masculine and harsh color of strength for males, and in history, blue was the softer color for women. And so, this is an example of just during in time, our own culture has changed in terms of how we view color, right, and how we feel how it associates with different genders, quote unquote. And again, you know, we're going to go into different genders because a lot of people have different identities. All right, very recent gender color rules. Who can read it for me?
I can read it.
Go ahead.
Gender identification by color began in the early 20th century. The generally accepted rule is pink for the boys and blue for the girls. The reason is that pink, being a more decided and stronger color, is more suitable for the boy, while blue, which is more delicate and dainty, is prettier for the girl. And then underneath that, 1870 picture on next slide of a boy.
Thank you. So you see that even, you know, if anyone who is Catholic, you could see if you've gone to a christening, right, you see the baby is wearing always a gown, right? And so you see historically, even wearing dresses is not actually attached to a particular gender, right? Different genders wear dresses. So again, this is an example how gender identification, remember, in the same European culture, has changed over time, right? And so this is compounded by the fact that I think of globally the different expressions of gender, sex, and identity, right? Very much influenced by the culture, okay? So again, thank you so much for reading. Pink was for boys, right? And blue was for girls, okay? So again, the change in time of gender. All right, who knows anything about hedras? So I assume, if no one screws out, yes, no one knows too much about hedras. Okay, but share what you know about hedras.
I kind of don't remember as much, but we actually went over the Balkans and the hedras in my anthropology class I took a few years ago.
Awesome.
So I don't know if I can necessarily like recite everything about it, but I do know of, like, remember learning about them.
Okay, excellent. I'm so excited. Let's see. Anthropology comes in again. Thanks, Carissa. Do you remember anything at all? Anything?
I just remember that they dress more feminine, and I feel like they're, I could be wrong because we did talk about a lot, but they're either neither male nor female, but another like separate gender, but I could be wrong.
You are correct. Carissa, excellent. You have a very good memory. So what Carissa's talking about is in India, and India is the second most populated country on the planet, over 1 billion people, right? In America, we have like 300, I guess, a little bit over 300 million people. So we have over 3 times that population in India, right? And so they have their own gender norms, right? And there's a group called hedras that are not man and they're not woman. And it would be very insulting for us to go to that country and say, okay, these are people who are transgender or these people are LGBT. They do not identify that way, right? And they have over 1 billion people in that country who believe in the identity of non-female and non-male, okay? So again, this is a very huge and ancient kind of identity in India, right? A very large, second most populated country, but also this is identity that they have on their passport, okay? So they have a Hijra designation because it is a different gender in their culture, not lesbian, not gay, not transgender. So that'd be very presumptuous of us as Americans to say, oh, you are this LGBTQ plus. That would totally insult their culture. This is an ancient culture. It is actually also a religious figure. So if you're a Hijra, you actually bless weddings. You could also give curses, and it is a very much part of their religion. Okay, so again, Hijra is not a man, not a woman, a different gender category, not the same as in Thailand, but this is a very much different, connected to their Hindu faith. All right, and so unfortunately we can't go over this book. I would love to, but our class is now on South Asia. It's only Southeast Asia, but Hijras I want to talk a little about are genitalia in terms of looking at genitals are males. Okay, they are performing as females, okay, but again, it is a third gender category in India. They have their own gender category. Now, my question for you, class, is do you think that only India acknowledges or believes in this Hijra category? Carissa, I'll have you jump back in there.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
So, Carissa, is it only India that has this acknowledgement of a third gender category? Is it only this country believes in Hijras? Because, yeah, Carissa, it is 1 billion people in India, but people may think that, oh, it's just India that believes in Hijras. Do you think it is only India?
No, I don't think so.
You are correct. So actually, Carissa, you know, Bangladesh acknowledges this third gender category. They have as well. Nepal also acknowledges this gender category. Pakistan also acknowledges this gender category. So you see surrounding countries have acknowledgement and also have their own Hijras. So Hijra, Carissa, it's not just Hijras from India. It's Hijras from within that entire realm, and over 1 billion people acknowledge this third space gender category. So thank you, Carissa. All right, so let's talk a little bit about global genders. Can anyone read it?
I'll read it. Global genders. Australia and New Zealand, you can now put an X for indeterminate gender, maintaining a different sex/gender identity. A passport may now be issued in an applicant's preferred sex, gender of male or female, or X, indeterminate, unspecified, without the need to amend these details on your birth or citizenship record.
Excellent, Kelly. Thank you. So, Kelly, you see in different countries, now you can actually put the X on gender. So that means sometimes you don't know what the gender is. You can put an X, okay? Now, Kelly, can we do that in the United States where a baby can be born with an X?
No, we cannot.
We cannot, Ms. Kelly. So, you know, we have a very deep binary in American culture. But you see, Ms. Kelly, in other countries, you don't have that because there are babies that are born where it is somewhat ambiguous.
Well, in some states, sorry for the interjection,
Oh,
but this is Jay, and in some states within the US, it is allowed to put an X.
Oh, wow. Jake, I didn't know that. Can you unpack that more for us?
Okay, well, as far as I know, not for babies, but I know for adults, in obtaining a driver's license, they're able to place an X.
Oh, wow.
I think in Oregon, in Washington State, California, and I'm trying to think of the other states. I know the District of Columbia, and that's all I can remember right now. But I know there's a few.
How interesting. Thank you, Jay, for sharing. So what you're saying is that you can put an X on your driver's license in California?
Yes, you can.
Oh,
I know, because I'm one of them.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to look that up. Great. You know, it's always wonderful when we have students who know all this information that can share with us. Great. Okay. What about babies? Have you heard anything about babies at all?
I think possibly Oregon by now.
Really? Okay, let me look this. I'm writing this down. Right. All right. So excellent. That's great. I think all of us in the class should research this. This is a really wonderful. Okay. So Australia and New Zealand, and thank you for sharing. Australia and New Zealand, you now can put an X for independent gender. And you see that in some countries on your passport, you can actually put an X. So that's a huge difference that's occurring now. All right. So now we're going to talk about the spectrum. Okay. So first caveat, especially for my anthro majors, is yes, we are focusing on America. Once again, we are focusing on America. So that is our blind spot. Okay. Because again, America is like 6 million people, but the world is 7 billion, right? Is it 7 or 8 billion? And the world has different gender expressions. So I always start this with a caveat that we are talking about very American labeling, but although the world has different and conflictual and non-accepting definitions, they will not accept these definitions. They have their own long-term, particularly like India, thousands of years old gender expressions that are acknowledged and accepted by that culture. Okay. All right. So let's go through this. And now you have the caveat that we're kind of focusing on American definitions that do not apply to other countries. Okay. The first one is biological sex, and that's made up of anatomy, chromosomes, hormones. So one way to look at it, and my bio majors might, look at this and will say male on this, line spectrum, intersex, right? You're a hermaphrodite, you have both biological, okay, genitals, and female, which is you would have the female hormones, chromosomes, and anatomy. And so that's one way. And I often have different students who, if they're bio majors, they'll often, agree or believe in this like sort of kind of the first arrow. Okay, another way to look at identity is gender identity. Carissa, can you read it?
Yeah, the gender identity.
Yes.
So psychological sense of self. So on the left side of the spectrum, it's man. In the middle, bigendered, two-spirit, third gender. And then on the right spectrum is woman.
Excellent. Okay. And so we aren't a women's studies class, but again, if we were a women's studies class, and this book is used in women's studies, thank you, Carissa, gender identity or psychological sense of self is very important, okay? When you wake up in the morning, what do you feel like? Do you feel like a man? Do you feel like a woman? Now, in many cultures, even in the United States, there is biculture, two-spirit, which is a Native American kind of identity expression and a belief, and third gender. So it's sort of around the world. There's also, we kind of talked about the hedras are a third gender, right? And again, it's your psychological sense of self, right? So that's another way of looking at your sex, sexuality, and gender. Okay, Kelly, can you read under the third category, gender expression?
Gender expression slash attribution, and then in parentheses underneath, communication slash perception of gender. And then underneath the double arrow, it's masculine on the left, androgynous in the middle, and feminine on the right.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. So again, this is very modern if you're a women's studies major. So if you're a women's studies major, jump in here. You actually be taught more this, which is Judith Butler's gender expression, right? Judith Butler is very famous. She's written a book called Gender Trouble, and it's all about this current theory. These are all theory sets, right? Of your gender. Your gender is just expressing. So if a man or all our males wear a wedding gown, they are women because they're expressing femaleness. Okay, so again, this is another theory set that now it's very modern, and if anyone is a women's studies major, jump in there, or any comments, that'd be great. All right, anyone can read sexual orientation? Monica?
What would you like me to read?
Sexual
orientation?
Yes.
Okay, sexual orientation, romantic / erotic response, attracted to women, bisexual / pansexual / asexual, attracted to men.
Excellent. Thank you, Monica. So another theory set is sexual orientation. Who are you physically attracted to? Are you attracted to women? Are you attracted to bisexual, pansexual, or asexuals? Or are you attracted to men, right? I'm sorry, bisexual both, or pansexual, or fluid, or not attracted to anyone, asexual. Now, I have a good friend who's a professor at another college, and she identifies as a female, but she actually is only attracted to people who are who identify as neither male or female and who have an androgynous look, not based on, doesn't matter to her about the genitals, but she likes people who have a non-strong female or male look, but more androgynous look. So very interesting. She actually has written a lot about identity and sexual orientation. So you see, there's another theory on sexual orientation. Are you attracted to women? Are you bisexual, right? And again, this has changed with the new theories of being pan, being fluid. Are you pansexual, right? Does the person's genitals not matter to you? It's just the person. Are you asexual, right? This is a very large group as well that should be acknowledged. You just don't have a, sort of a romantic feeling towards either gender, right? And then are you attracted to men? So again, and does this change in time and space? So anthro majors, there are cultures in, I forget the country, that there's a, I need to find the country, where, when I was your age taking this class, and I learned about this culture where the males are born a male baby boy, but over time they become a man, but in their old age they become a woman. Whereas women are born a female, and as they grow older into a woman, they become a female, but over time in their old age they become a man. Okay, so you see that in that culture, gender completely changes within an individual's lifetime, right? And you see just around the world, people have their own gender expressions. All right, let's talk about Afghanistan, okay? Now, Afghanistan is a very interesting place because it is rated as the worst place on earth to have, to be a woman, right? As a very, very short lifespan, and the treatment of women is very harsh. And so I'm not gonna read it, but I want you to think about yourself. If you're in a country which harshly penalizes women, do you want to have a female child, right? And so instead, what a lot of these mothers are doing is they're actually birthing biological females, but saying these females are males, Okay. And so these children that are biological females are raised as males with complete freedom and allowed to go to school, because in Afghanistan, sometimes females are not allowed to go to school. But unfortunately, when they go through puberty, they have to go back to being a female. So again, you see how people around the world are compensating for the inequality of genders. And if you're interested in that, there's actually a whole book called The Underground Girls of Kabul, which are resistance to this like gendered kind of regime, and also inequality and injustice, where women are not allowed to are not virtually not allowed anything. And so it's all these children that are girls but raised as boys. So if you're interested in that, feel free to get that book. Now, Xgender. Germans no longer have to classify their kids as male or female, okay? And so again, you see even in Western European countries, this is something that is here. But again, you know, India, you can also classify as Hijra. Now we're gonna go into the big theory, okay? This is where I get paid the big bucks. Just kidding. Don't go into teaching if you want to get paid a lot of money. All right, so this is Anne Foster Sterling, a hugely famous gender theorist, okay? Now, she has a 1993 article, and she argues that people ought to be classified in at least 5 sexes. So if you have notes, write it down. 5 sexes. Remember, her PhD is in biology, so she can back it up with all this biological knowledge. Now, her theory, and again, if you're taking Introduction to Women Studies, you would probably learn this, is that there are males, there are biologically male, there are females, there are biologically female, and then there are merms. Now, merms are on the external body, they would have biological features, such as maybe a penis and externally looking like a male, but internally, they are actually, you know, they have the chromosomes or possible internals of a female. And so she defines that as merms. Now, there's another group she talks about that are biological externally, they are females, right? They're females biologically, but internally, they have the total makeup of a male. Right? And I think you guys know about the herm or hermaphrodite. You have both equal man and female. So again, she's very, very famous, top of her field, and that is one of her definitions. And if you take women's studies class, you will learn about males, female, merms, firm, and herm. Okay, so feel free to read her book. Very famous woman and theorist. Now, we talked about in Hindu culture, right? In Hindu mythology and art making, in Hindu mythology, ritual and art are important vehicles for transmitting the Hindu worldview, the power of the combined male and female. It's a frequent, significant theme, okay? So now I'm gonna share with you, does anyone know who this is? Anyone? No one? Alrighty, let's do a YouTube video. Please, we're gonna watch this video of a race, and you're gonna tell me what you think of this racer, okay? And I will use this one. Can you see my screen of YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So please take a look, and I'm gonna play it.
You've taken one of the African championships in 2016 as a Kenya, Emily
show the race. Great. Great. All right, so back to Ann Foster. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so so you just saw Caster Semenya, very famous, Semenya is very, very famous runner. And so there's a lot of accusations against her, and I will say she, because she identifies as a female. But in the realm of competing, a lot of people have accused her of being a biological male. Now, she has suffered a lot of indignities because they have taken, checking her genitals, and she does have the genitals of a female. This is biologically what she is naturally, and she identifies as a female. And so, again, this is sort of in contention. I always have athletes in my class who have definite opinions. She is a world-class sprinter and runner. They have tested her multiple times, and she does have some elements of male internal attributes, okay? But again, identifying as a female. And so now, a lot of women internationally do not want to compete against her. In fact, I read that some women, have accused her of being a male and also have walked off the competition. So I'm really interested in your opinion on this because, again, it is a female person. It is identifying as a female. But the latest thing on Caster Semenya is they want to inject her with estrogen, which, is ridiculous, right? Because, she's identifying as a female and she has a female external genitalia. But, this is a little bit, this is the world of sports is so unusual. I've never heard that. But one of the things that they want to do is inject her with hormones, which I'm wondering your thoughts, everyone. What do you think?
Honestly, I think that's ridiculous.
Can we unpack that, Jay?
If someone identifies as a woman, then they're a woman, and all I could say, really.
Yes. So Jay, not only is she identifying as a woman, she does have the genitalia of a female on the external. And again, very much identifying as a female, has the genitalia of a female in the external. Yes, Jay, there have been, feel free to look this up, that they have done internal kind of biological looky-loos, right? She's one of the most tested women in the world in terms of sports. And
so I'm saying if they have a vagina and they also identify as a woman, that means that they're a woman, period. But if they don't have a vagina and still identify themselves as a woman, then they're still a woman as well. So to me, it's just simple.
Yeah. So Jay, that is definitely many people, share your thoughts. But these Olympic and these running officials are in dispute because they are wanting to inject her now with estrogen, these drugs, which seems appalling. But again, please look it up if you're interested in this case, because it just every year it gets worse. But again, if you're going to look like a theory such as Anne Foster Sterling, one could make the case that she might be a female external with genitals, and maybe internally she has the male. And actually, I have a lot of, in the past, I've had lots of athletes take my class, and they often will tell me things like, well, I don't believe it's fair that this person should be able to compete with other biological females. Males have, denser bones, and she has some attributes, but again, this is her natural body type. So again, this is something to think about, in terms of, if you think of, there's 5 different sexes, right? 5 different sexes. She may probably veer towards the firm, but again, this is a biological look. Okay. Now, other people, and I want to show, I do want to acknowledge what is the current, kind of theory set is basically this woman, her name is Judith Butler, Berkeley professor, and she believes it's performance, right? So that's, again, it depends. I've been around women's studies professors, and you got 30 women's studies professors in a room, and you have 30 different disagreements, and these are on what gender identity is, and they've all written books. So again, we're friends, and so I was like, wow. Okay, so again, I want you guys to make your own choice. I want you to make your own choice on what you believe is dictating gender, sexuality, and sex. Okay, so you make your own research, and you come to your own critical examination. But again, if you guys are anthro majors, I want you to do a deep dive and look at how other cultures take in their own genders, right? And acknowledge that their belief is the premier, because that is their culture. Okay, particularly when we're looking now at Thailand. Okay, all right, so this is a great intro. We're going to go into chapter 1. All right, Thailand, homosexuality, or quote being gay, is referenced as misgendered, or as they say in Thai, pit feet, or effeminate men. Okay, Thai men are aware of the global larger community. So although they are aware of it, they don't have and they don't agree with that gender expression or identity or labeling that we have, particularly in the Western world. All right, so there's a group called Toms and Dees. Okay, now Toms and Dees are not part of the global identities of let's say if we go to America, LGBTQ plus, right? There's no LGBTQ plus Toms and Dees, right? But again, that's not part of our sexual identity, in America, but it's definitely in Thailand. So there is a separate gender sex identity called Toms and Dees. So I always tell students, write this down, circle this, highlight this, check it. They are not lesbians. Once again, circle this, underline this. Toms and Dees are not lesbians. They know about the global identities, sexuality identities, but they do not acknowledge it. So if you were to call a Tom and Dee lesbian, they'd be very offended, okay? Because they know about that definition. They are not lesbians, okay? They identify on page 29, they say, I am a Tom, I am not a lesbian, okay? So again, Thailand is one of them, also another one of the most populated countries in the world, right? Long history, long, very proud history of literature and art, and very much proud of their kings. And they are saying they are not lesbians. So please write that down in your notes. All right, so let's talk about Toms and Ds. What's a Tom? What's a D? Can anyone volunteer? I'll give you a hint. Tomboy, lady. So in Thai culture, there is a woman who has sexual relations with other women, and she is identified as a Tom. She actually visually cuts off her hair short to look like a male, and they are called Toms. Now, another group of women, they identify as Dees, and it's actually a shortening of ladies. They express themselves as females. They wear dresses, they wear makeup, okay? And they also have sexual relations with just other biological females. And it can also include males as well, but definitely others, women. And they identify as Dees. So again, do we have this gender expression in the United States?
No, we don't.
We don't, okay? And this, again, in Thai culture,
We
is
have something
accepted.
similar, but not really those terms.
Exactly. Thank you, Jay. Similar, but not exact. And very strident, Jay. If you go to Thailand, they will say, I am not a lesbian. Okay. So just like in India, if you were go to those hijras and say, oh, you're transgender, that would offend them to no end. Hijras are religious figures, right? So again, if you were to say that in Thailand, again, hugely, millions and millions of people, it would be an offensive act, right? Culturally, they identify as Toms or Ds, and they are very stridently saying they are not lesbians, okay? All right. All right, so let's talk about Toms and Ds, okay? Toms have female genitalia. They're masculine gender presenting, which means they wear short hair, and they sometimes wear suits or pants. They're attracted to only females, right, which are Ds. They are also sometimes attracted to other Toms, but that's considered a no-no in their culture. It's kind of like, ooh, no, two Toms together, okay? They generally are kind of culturally pushed to like Ds. There's 69 million people who live in Thailand, okay? The rural percentage of Thais, a large percentage of Thai people live in rural areas. In rural areas, they also have their own gender identities. And number 5, sexual activities with Ds, Toms, right? So Toms have sexual activities with just Ds, and if they have it with Toms, it's fine, but it's considered not normative. So 2 Toms are not supposed to be together in Thai culture. Now, another group is the Ds. They are female genitalia, female sex. They're feminine gender presenting. They are attracted to other Toms. That's, quote, the ideal choice. Sometimes other Ds, but again, it's considered weird. Like, why are you attracted? You're a D. Why are you attracted to another D? Okay, it's considered the weirdo, not my words, but the author's words. Okay, males, sometimes cisgendered. Okay, now some Ds have double partners. They'll have a cisgendered male and they'll have a Tom as a sexual partner, and that is also accepted in Thai culture. Okay, so you can have this in Thai culture. Historically, Thais have a long history of same-sex relationships. This is recorded in the royal court. This is recorded in historical documents. Same-sex, quote, friendships between females. Male and female global identities. Again, there's you could deep dive this, and I really suggest you take women's studies classes. Would be a great time for you to take multiple, and there is a major and a minor if you're interested in that. Lots of subcultures, lots of identities of sex and gender. Again, you can go over this. I will post this as well. Many different cultures around the world have lots of different expressions, and again, you can look this up and Google this and read the multiple books on these different genders around the world. And please take women's studies classes. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go over it, but in Africa, there's female to female marriage. In Africa, there's a Bantu. In Philippines, there's even in the United States, there's lots of different gender expressions, of course, and again, also changing in time and space. Okay. So today your learning outcomes where you learned about gender, sex, and identity. You learned about hedras, toms. We went over chapter 1. We illustrated key terms, and you learned about global identities. Okay. Any questions? Stop my share, and I'm gonna do this. Okay. All righty. Let me pause.